I wasn't able to do a video in a few days. I will do one now, Monday, pre-market, very, very early. Let's recap very quickly. So S&P, it was a green day on Friday. It was kind of unchanged green. There's a bit of an upward move in the Russell, but otherwise it was sort of flattish. I still am hesitant. I think it would take quite a lot of good news specifically for the markets to go and make new highs. So for the S&P to crack 460, I just can't see that happening. The candlesticks we saw on Friday suggests a bit of a topping here. This big push up here was, pretty strong, but I think the move is done. I think we're going to have a bit of a move down. If we do, then we do still have a head and shoulders. It's a big right shoulder. I thought we wouldn't really cross this line, but that's what news does. So let's see. We need a bit of a close below, I would say, 449 to really continue the accelerated move down in the S&P. So let's see what happens today, but I am pretty hopeful that we get a bit of a topping formation and come back down. The Nasdaq, same thing, exactly the same sort of candlestick. It actually was red on Friday. So let's see if we move back down. Will we start to find support? Is 372 support, or do we just? I don't think it will be. I don't think we're coming back down here and finding support. We could bounce there intraday, maybe 1 day support, but I think we're going to come back down and pretty much test the lows down here. Let's call it 360, coming into this ascending support, very important stuff. So if we do start to move back down, this ascending support, the prior lows, the horizontal, just like the S&P, right? That's really the zone you want to watch. Once you crack that, then we go much lower, and then we'll see from there. But I'm pretty hopeful that we'll go back down. When you look at the Dow, even more resistance, didn't really rise that much. And same thing, they'll all follow the same trajectory. So if we go back down, it'll be the ascending support that's really key. And then just to really make sure of it, a close below 34,000, a close below 34,000, and we should start to see some big downside. A little bump here maybe, but otherwise down, down, down. So I'd love to see the Dow start to flush. The Russell was up pretty decently, but that wouldn't, I feel like it lagged on the way up. So, and look, it closed, sort of lost half its move up. So, but still, up over 1%, pretty decent, help by the banks, by the way. We'll look at the banks just now. But again, this one, if it was to follow the Nasdaq and the S&P, it would be even higher. So it's still underperforming the Nasdaq and the S&P despite its outperformance on Friday. There, I think if we start to fall back down, we have a nice right shoulder, not as strong as the S&Ps and the Nasdaq. And then again, ascending support on the way down. And what you really want is a close below 182, especially 180. Let's see what happens. The banks, yes, they outperformed, not the XLF, but the small and regional banks, they outperformed, but still not too much. Here you go, a little tag on prior resistance. Although, to be honest, this resistance is kind of obsolete. So this is just a coincidence. I should probably actually, what I should do is recalibrate this one just in case. It doesn't really count too. Yeah, okay, that still counts. But otherwise, yeah, a bit of a move up, just like the S&P and Nasdaq. Let's see what happens. I still expect a rollover. There's no shoulder here, so a bit of a different chart than the S&P, but obviously it got smashed. KBE, KRE, yeah, they went up nicely, 2% move. Touching resistance. In my opinion, this horizontal still counts. Let's see. All the markets should do the same thing. I expect a bit of a rollover. I don't know if the KB and the KRE will roll over as easily as the others because that's a pretty decent close, strong close, near high of day, up 2%. But still, if the markets start to really flush, then down we go. I think this one, we can change this one a little bit actually. KRE, exactly the same thing. So let's now look at the interest rates, which is still the most important thing. Now, actually, before I look at interest rates, look at the TLT, which is a bit of an average. This is the actual bonds, 20-year long-term bonds. So look at this chart, this candlestick over here. It looks like, in my opinion, we want to go test the lows. I mean, that's a pretty strong bearish candle, close at low of day. We've got this little gap. Why not go there? And then a close below 92, you're pretty much, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, going much lower, straight to 88. Let's go on the weekly. I mean, this doesn't go that far back, but still look at that. When you start to go to 88, you've really only got 1 or 2 levels left, the low 80s. And then, well, that's just the TLT. Everyone has their own charts. You've got all the other individual interest rates. But it's just, I thought it was worth pointing out that this TLT, which a lot of people trade, and then it translates into the yields. This looks pretty bearish. Let's look at the 1 year, just sideways. This one's always a bit special, so I don't read too much into it like I did before. Sideways, bit indecisive here. It really went up and low, to the upper and the lower end of the channel. The 2 year, look at this, nice bullish reversal. Looks like it wants to go back up again. Close a high of day, nice hammer. The 5 year, also nice hammer, more of an engulfing hammer, to be honest. Wants to go back up also. The 10 year, not so much a hammer, but even stronger, up almost 2%. That's a decent move. That's the 10 year, very important stuff. If it continues, then up we go even more. Let's look at the 30 year. Also, same sort of thing. Wants to go all the way back and test its old highs. Look at the European yields, which follow the same sort of trajectory. Look, so I recalibrated this trend line a little bit just to make it more realistic. I had it previously like this, but it's just we're chopping sideways, and I think eventually we'll break out. So I'm just giving a more rough ascending trend line there, but I think it's worth it actually. I think this is just gonna go all the way back up and squeeze, to be honest. The British, zoom out, look at this. Yes, we had a bit of a reversal the last couple of days, and now we want to go back up. This is across the board. I'm talking about same thing. Just before making new highs, a little bit of a move down and back up again. And what happens when we go to make new highs across the board, across all the different yields, then we will probably go lower in the markets. Let's look at, sorry about that, let's look at the dollar. Now, this on Friday was pretty impressive. We had this flush, and I had all these trend lines also. I took them away just to make it cleaner. We remember what trend lines we broke out of, these very important descending ones. So what happened on Friday? On Friday, we had this huge, strong close, best close ever. I mean, for a long time, at 104.2. That's very impressive stuff. That suggests the dollar wants to go higher. Today, we're just backing off a little bit, normal stuff. I actually expect we're going to break out. I mean, we flushed this little ascending, and it was a bit too steep. It reminds me of oil, actually. Oil also did something similar. I'll just go to oil real quick to show you what I mean. Oil also had a very steep, and I removed that ascending. Look at this steep ascending. And eventually we broke it, and we went down just to the next level. And look what we did. Bam, new highs. I'll get to oil in a second, actually. But look, the dollar is pretty similar. Ascending. It was too much. Broke down. Hit this next line of support, which is the horizontal at 103. And now we're back up. And basically, to me, it wants to go back up. It wants to go even higher. Sorry, it wants to go to 105.5/106. Which is pretty impressive from a 99 handle. And I mean, the Friday close really, because to me, when you look at the Thursday close, this one here, sorry, that was just retesting prior support. So it could go back down at that point, and then, okay, we're short-term bearish, it can go even lower and bounce on the way down. But because of what it did on Friday, which is go straight back into the ascending support zone and then close a high of day, that makes it bullish again. So now what happens? Maybe 1 or 2 sideways days and then break out. Obviously, catalyst being the news. But let's look at the euro dollar. Look where the euro closed on Friday. Low of day, closing below, well, pretty much at the last support, which is, the last low down here. So this same sort of thing, a bit of a 1 or 2 day move up and then back down to 107. So the euro dollar is a little bearish. Look at the US dollar, Japanese yen, bullish, also helping the DXY. We've gone sideways and holding above this support zone. This was resistance straight through. Look at this perfect bounce off support. Look at this Friday candle. Just hammer, close, high of day. And today so far we're going up. This to me suggests it want to go test 150. And this is total Armageddon for the Japanese Bank of Japan. I mean, they have lost control completely. So maybe something happens here. We could have some intervention in the Bank of Japan. They could start selling dollars, buying Japanese yen. That could save dollar bears. So I think the Japanese yen will become very important soon. If we go higher here, something may have to take place here. And that could reverse everything with gold going lower because of the dollar going up. So let's see. But I do think we are going to test 149, 150, or 148 at least. So I think this is going to go up, but here something happens. And then the pound dollar, look at that also. Friday's close, low of day, holding support just about, but definitely we can go lower. Look how high we've come since here. And remember, the pound is has its own problems. And look where we just saw where the interest rates are for the what are they called? The gilts, the UK market. So we could come back down also in the medium term for the pound. So the dollar has some things going for it when you look at the FX side. It's just long term, and also these other countries and their currencies, they have their own problems. So I think we can see the dollar, just to summarize, I think we can see the DXY breakout. But I do actually think once we get here, there'll be a lot of chaos taking place. And we could start to see a reversal again because of some more macro strategic event. But technically, short term right now, DXY looks bullish. Not going to lie. Okay, let's look at commodities. So, yeah, copper. I mean, look, Friday, first of all, nice move up, but came back down off its lows. That's quite impressive given the strength of the dollar. So that's one thing. The markets were kind of up overall, but yeah, I mean, it's sort of sideways. I just find like $3.954 is going to be pretty hard to close above. You really need the dollar to come back down for that to happen. I can't see copper getting above 4 if the markets are going down and the dollar's going up. So let's see which way it sides, and let's see what happens to the dollar. But I think the dollar is more important actually to copper than the markets at this point. So we might see quite a bit of resistance around 395. We saw that on Friday and so far today. Okay, today's young, but we'll have to see. Natural gas, this one just toys with everyone. In my opinion, we have to go to 305 and squeeze. It's taking its time. Every time it gets up near there, it just sort of comes back down again. So much so that you think it's going to lose 2.5 support, but it doesn't. Today, so far, we're just sideways, nothing special. But let's see if we can close at least in the 2.9 zone. But I'm looking for a test of 3. And what you really want is a close above 305. So still bullish that oil, which we took a look at just now. Look at this beautiful steep move up, little retracement. I thought we'd go back down with the markets, but the markets went up. And actually, the oil's gone up despite the dollar going up too. So oil is very, very strong. This is going to really hurt the inflation fight. But what it should do, to be honest, at this point, because of what it's done already, closing above this prior resistance, it should just go all the way up to 90, 91. At this point, this descending, let's look at this descending, very important stuff. I think we'll find resistance before this horizontal line. So let's say 92 should be resistance. 92. I don't know if we go there in one go or do we retrace, retest this resistance, maybe 84 undershoot, and then go back up, at which point maybe 90 is resistance. But I think we basically make a beeline for 90, 91. Let's see if the dollar has much impact on that also. But oil, very, very strong, very, very bullish to the 90s. Uranium, very, very strong, very, very bullish all the way to 28. Obviously, the market comes back down. This can come back down, maybe retest the 23 zone. We have this ascending support now, plus the old resistance acting as support. So uranium, like I said, all the way up with the miners too, and they've done great moves. Around Cameco, sorry, has already made great moves. Gold and silver, so leveling off here. What gold has done is caught up with silver on the way up and on the way down. So here we've got, Friday was a bit of it was a very nice day at one point, but then came back down again. So we're basically holding 1940, which is where I thought resistance would be. And now that's acting as support. So that's good. That technical guess was correct. Let's see on the way up. I think gold will also, I don't know if it will outperform silver, but it has actually caught up with silver the last 2-3 days, I would say. And 1980 is where you will find definite resistance, probably 1970, but definitely 1980. For that to happen, you probably need a DXY to fall off. And for that, you need some FX moves. Or will gold and silver go up because the market falls down regardless of the dollar? That is a possibility. We haven't seen that too much yet, but that's also possible. On the way down, honestly, I think just above 1900 might be support. Maybe if we come back down, it might not be in one go. Otherwise 1900, otherwise 1885. So these lines I want to keep in place. I mean, 1900 is a lot stronger. It is stronger support than this 19. I'm talking about this zone here, 1930, and you may have a bit of support around in the 1910, 1912 zone. You know, these candles, the lows. If we come back down, that is, if we go lower than 1900, then 1885. But yeah, it held, you know, roughly 1900. Just zoom out. That's basically 1900 support. That's what all of this is. That's done its job so far. So 1900, 1940, 1980, keep it simple. Silver, yeah, that's you know, that's come down a bit compared to gold. I think this little horizontal I put in place is support, $24, nice round number, is support. But look, if gold and silver, if gold, for example, starts to go lower than 1940 and starts to flush, then silver's just going to take a big dive and then come back down to 23, where I think it should find support. If it goes lower, we know that 22, 22.5 is very, very strong. 22 is so strong, it's never been there. So 22.5 is very, very strong. And the ascending line keeps coming higher and higher. So let's see. I actually think gold is going to hold 1940-ish. It could go below a little bit, but sort of go sideways, choppy around 1940, and then eventually make its move to 1980. It does depend on the dollar. But again, I think the dollar is might go up a little bit here because it's strong against the FX competition, but I think something will give way at 105 actually. And at that point, gold will start to make its 1980 run. Silver, though, you know, I think it should hold around here. If there's no news, we're not going to lose $24 straight away, but just fear that it may be a bit weak here and flush a bit. Otherwise, if it starts to move up with gold, then of course we've got this 25 zone. And if we start to close above 25, really bullish stuff. I mean, it has to go to 26. And at that point, 26 is the last line in the sand. After 26, it should be pretty quick pit stops at 27, 28. But you can't really get to 26, 27, 28 without gold going for 1980. So we need some sort of event, you know, whether it's the dollar going down or some news sending the dollar down, or maybe the market's down that sends gold up. But yeah, these are very important levels approaching for gold and silver. And I think we need some sort of catalyst to justify it. It can't just happen on low volume technical breakout moves based on no news. So let's look at the miners. They are also holding their zone. So GDX, you know, this level, these levels that I saw is kind of working, but just don't want the miners to come back down too much. You know, you kind of need gold and silver to go up for them to continue. What I really want to see though is I really want to see the miners go up with the markets down. That's, I think, what would be perfect combination. We haven't seen that opportunity really so far. So right now it's just stuck following gold and silver, which is dependent on the dollar mainly. So yeah, these are not the best candles. They look at this Friday candle, which is close at low of day. I mean, you could say there's a bit of support nearby, but I think it's really dependent on gold and silver's levels more so. Let's see, we really want to close above this 30 zone on the GDX. Imagine if you close above 30 on the GDX, you've got this immediate resistance here. And maybe that'll take an extra day, but then you want to close outside of this descending. So I think we just need gold and silver to do their thing to get there. Otherwise, on the way down, I mean, this low of day, this gap fill should be, so that's 28. 29, yeah, basically round numbers, 29, which is pretty much where we closed, just above, thank God. Otherwise, 28. Otherwise, the low is 27.5, maybe, etc. GDXJ, same sort of thing. Look at this. We closed just above the 35.5 level. Actually, I don't see 35 as support in this case. Yeah, this gap fill, maybe. I think you really have to watch gold and silver really to understand the miners levels, besides the obvious one like 35.5 and this here 34. I don't see 35 as a level though. But you can't really go all the way back down until you've got gold flushing 1900. So on the way up, though, look at this. This is a bit more obvious. 37. Imagine you start to move up and hit 37. By that point, it probably wouldn't happen in one day. So at least 2 days. By that point, you're starting to test your descending. So a little close above, 37.5, and then you've got justification to continue the move, maybe. That's the miners. Let's look at Bitcoin very quickly. Bitcoin, not good. Very still bearish, big moves up on news. What is it? BlackRock. This one here was Ripple, I think. But look, the next day, bam, bearish reversal, just trending lower despite the market going up at times. Big flush. I think this was this news also? Some news, probably another ETF or something. Bam, next day or next 2 days, all the way back down. This is bearish. Remember, the market's gone up a lot. It follows the markets down, but not necessarily the markets up. It's good news. The hype that lasts months is always priced in, and it's just dumped the next day. This thing wants to come back down to 20,000, not in one go, but I think it'll be pretty violent once you start to flush 25,000. Everyone's watching the same level, so for sure it matters. And once you start to go down here, it just looks so heavy. It looks heavy now, but it just looks very, very weak chart. How do you get all the way back up? You need one of these reversals, which was the banking failure, which sent gold all the way up to highs. So, there weren't that many assets that did well during that period, but that was the only thing that saved Bitcoin. Because look at this heavy chart here. 1, 2, down it goes. I mean, what can save it? I remember being bearish here, actually. And the only thing that saved it was the banking. Otherwise, what would have happened would have been a little bounce, maybe, and then a flush down here. Well, that's what we're getting here. What we've got going on right now is the same as sort of this period here, the flush back down. And then will we get a massive strong reversal? You need some huge event that's bullish for Bitcoin. You could have a huge event that's bearish. I think you just get a small bounce and come back down, and then it looks very bad. So, but right now it doesn't look very good. And to be honest, we also lost this strength right at resistance, pretty much. This ascending support became resistance. So Bitcoin bearish. All right, I'll leave it there. Apologize for not having made a video during the weekend, and I didn't do my weekly recap. So hopefully I can do that actually today. No promises, but yeah, I regret not making a video over the weekend, just too distracted. Good luck today. Let's see what happens. This week is very important.